Good evening and welcome to the LaRouche Organization Weekly Battle Report. Today is Wednesday, June 4th. I'm your host, Michelle Aaron. We go immediately to Diane Sare, the president of the LaRouche Organization, with a statement she put out yesterday on the urgent situation in the U.S. presidency and the danger of world war.
Is there a coup going on against President Donald Trump? We have to ask that question because, according to the press today, President Trump was not informed before the Ukrainian attacks, again guided by CIA MI6 intelligence, hit all of these military bases in Russia, knocking out some number of Russian aircraft, probably not dozens, as they say in the press, probably not 40, but 9 or 10. Obviously, it's a serious intelligence failure for Russia. It looks like the attacks were being planned in Chelyabinsk for a year and a half. That's inside of Russia. And if it is the case that President Trump was not informed by Zelensky, then we have no business acting like we have a relationship with Zelensky. He is not a trustworthy partner, and we should not be trying to negotiate anything on his behalf. If the CIA were involved, as they have to be, and Trump did not authorize this, as one would hope he did not because it totally undermines talks, then he has to clean out the CIA and tell them to cease and desist. If you look on social media, on postings of the Azov battalion and other pro-Banderist, pro-Nazi forces, you will see them very gleeful. And what concerns me is the British delusion and other neocons in the United States that somehow Russia can be destroyed. Russia is not going to allow itself to be destroyed, and this puts all of us at risk. And again, the blame on Senators Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut. Lindsey Graham, Republican; Richard Blumenthal, Democrat. It has nothing to do with party. It has to do with people acting on interests which are clearly not those of the United States or the people of the United States, and this has to stop. The other question related to this is what happened to James Comey? Didn't he threaten the life of the president by putting 8647 in the sand, 8 miles away, 6 feet under, President 47? That's mafia language. He knew what he was doing. We heard there was an investigation and it suddenly disappeared. So I'd like to know what's happening with James Comey as well.
This video put up yesterday has already over 122,000 views, 7,600 likes, 1,200 comments, and 1,300 shares on TikTok. We now have an update on this situation in the US administration and the world from Trump in his Truth Social, that he and Putin had this morning a 1.25-hour phone discussion, which is a very good thing, a direct discussion between the world leaders. Trump acknowledges in his post his understanding that Putin will respond to Ukraine's Operation Spiderweb. Now, a related incident of the failure to inform the president was taken up in a discussion last Wednesday, by Helga Zepp-LaRouche, founder of the Schiller Institute, and Professor Emeritus of MIT, defense expert Ted Postal. Here's a bit of what Dr. Postal had to say upon learning that Trump was also apparently not made aware by the Ukrainians that they were going to attempt to assassinate Putin last week in a drone attack on Putin's helicopter.
Let me just make a quick comment, because something I learned from you in your introductory remarks, that President Trump was apparently not made aware of the drone attack on President Putin. Did I understand that correctly? According to this?
Yes.
Well, this is rather important insight into the lack of proper intelligence support for political leaders in the West in general and in the United States in particular.
Dr. Postal had much more to say to this in the full interview, link in our YouTube description. Another important insight into this situation came in this morning from retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn in his Substack in an article titled Avoiding World War III, where he urges Trump to do a cleaning house of all deep state agents operating against his administration and against peace, and to do so in the tradition of another president who did this, President John F. Kennedy. Now, after this past weekend's June 1st Ukrainian Operation Spiderweb attacks on Russian airports, the LaRouche movement was mobilized by Monday morning to act to pull the reins in on the danger of nuclear war by producing and circulating a leaflet denouncing these attacks. The leaflet, titled Step Back from the Brink of World War III, begins, as you are reading this, financial forces associated with the City of London and Wall Street are careening the world to an appointment with thermonuclear hell. It is not only sane, but essential to ask the question, has the world, with the June 1st attacks by Ukraine on 4 Russian airfields, including the destruction of nuclear-capable aircraft that are part of Russia's thermonuclear triad, crossed a red line beyond which there lies the immediacy of species-annihilating thermonuclear warfare? On Monday, we held a distribution of this leaflet outside the United Nations in New York City, getting out hundreds of flyers, including 80 to 100 flyers directly to delegates entering the UN. Congressional candidate Jose Vega from New York's 15th Congressional District joined this group, and here we have an on-the-ground statement from him.
Good morning, everyone. Today I am here at the United Nations raising awareness that the Ukrainians have bombed airfields in Russia. What they claim is that they blew up 40 different jets. The Russians say only 9 were actually destroyed. But the point is that the tensions of a nuclear war are now at an all-time high again, as they were during the Biden administration. Why would the Ukrainians decide to sabotage peace talks one day before they're supposed to meet in Istanbul to discuss terms to end the war? Did the United States actually know this was happening? Many experts in the field are saying that this attack could have only been carried out and coordinated with the United States and United Kingdom intelligence, letting them know what targets to hit and using technology only available to the United States to get this to happen. Does this have anything to do with the fact that Senator Blumenthal and Senator Lindsey Graham were in Ukraine just a day before the attacks went off? Are they actively trying to sabotage the Trump administration's pursuit for peace? Did the CIA know that this attack was going to be carried out? Every official report says that the president did not know this attack was going to occur and happen. So how could this have happened under the president's watch? Well, if the president did know this was happening, does that mean that he's given up on a diplomatic approach? And if that's the case, then it's up to you and me to decide to take a stand. Otherwise, we're all going to end up dead in a nuclear war unless people decide to stand up and call out the evil rot that exists in their government. That is why I'm out here at the United Nations. I have not seen a single congressman say something about the rising tensions between the United States, the UK, Ukraine, and Russia. A nuclear bomb could strike tomorrow if the Russians feel they are under existential threat. And so it's important that Trump get on the phone with Putin, but more important that you spread the word, stand up and intervene and act in the name of humanity.
And this video posted on X has over 9,000 views. So on Tuesday, the message, this flyer and other materials were brought to Washington, D.C., where our literature was dropped off at 70 to 75 congressional offices. We had 4 on-the-spot meetings as we conveyed our message that the war party is on the move, pushing us back to the danger of war. This flyer is also being distributed in Montreal, in California, New Jersey, and it includes several calls to action on what the reader can do. And we encourage everyone watching to download this leaflet from either the Schiller Institute or LaRouche organization websites and distribute the flyer. Send photos or videos of your deployments in to info@laroucheorganization.com. Now, if we only talk of war, we'll never have peace. As called for by Helga Zepp-LaRouche, what is urgently needed is a new international architecture for peace and development, in which the LaRouche movement has played a critical role in fostering discussion. Last week, Schiller Institute of France, our Sébastien Paramoni, along with French Colonel Jacques Hogard, participated in and were speakers at the 13th annual International Meeting of High Representatives for Security Issues, an event held May 27th to 29th in Moscow. The meeting was chaired this year by Secretary of the Russian Security Council, Sergei Shoigu, and was addressed by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. It hosted over 125 delegations from more than 100 countries. These yearly conferences are designed as a platform for an exchange of views on global security-related issues with the idea to strengthen cooperation between nations to combat international terrorism, combat extremism, transnational crime, and drug trafficking. Scores of bilateral meetings were held on the sidelines of this important summit. Russia is not isolated. Now, the official government of France did not participate in this event, but men of goodwill from France, Sébastien Paramoni of the Schiller Institute and Colonel Jacques Hogard, they both were there representing the voices of those who wish to speak for peace and for reason. Both men spoke in the plenary session. You see here Sébastien giving his speech. And they were interviewed also by tons of Russian and foreign TV channels, newspapers, magazines, including RT, Sputnik, Zvezda TV channel, Radium, TASS, the parliamentary newspaper, and more. Now, though his actual speech was given in French, Sébastien kindly recorded an English language version for us, and here is a brief excerpt.
Sébastien Paramoni of the Schiller Institute. So we are in Moscow, Russian Federation, for the meeting of high ranking on security issue organized by the Security Council of the Russian Federation. This afternoon I will give a speech, but I will give it in French to represent France, and I will give it in English for you. France needs the world, and the world needs France. But today France and the collective West are brain dead. So I'm speaking here on behalf of France. Why is my country on the wrong side of history? I have come here to share with you the voice of France, which is responding to this call to cooperate with the state of the Global South and the Global East. This is the proposal that our International Institute, the Schiller Institute, and its president, Helga Zepp-LaRouche, has also put forward to put in place a new international architecture for security and mutual development in the spirit of the Treaty of Westphalia and the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence advocated by the Bandung Conference of non-aligned countries whose 70th anniversary we are celebrating today. Only way out, and the only way to avoid the worst is to change the rules of the game by fighting to replace current international geopolitics, the law of the financial markets aimed at global dictatorship, with a policy of development and mutual security of nations in Europe and throughout the world, a policy of peace based on sovereignty of nation and win-win cooperation. With each country, a long-term productive public credit at low interest rates for major works on a global scale. It is respect for the sovereignty that the member of countries of the BRICS are defending, and France must cooperate with them in the name of its own sovereignty. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sebastian. Really remarkable. And you see that there are voices of goodwill around the world interested in peace and development, though many leaders of nations and governments have yet to be convinced. We are now going to Germany with a statement from Stefan Ossenkopf, the vice chair of the party Civil Rights Solidarity, which is the party of the LaRouche movement in Germany, who I asked to give us a brief report on a recent breakthrough they've made in outreach on social media by beginning to post short video clips on the platform TikTok.
Hello everyone, this is Stefan Ossenkopf. I'm reporting from Berlin, Germany. I'm very happy to be part of the weekly battle report of the LaRouche organization. I'm the vice chair of the Civil Rights Movement Solidarity, a party that was founded by Helga Zepp-LaRouche in the early 1990s and which she is still chairing today. And what I wanted to report is our recent initiative on the social media platform TikTok, which has really created some kind of a small breakthrough for us, which we want to pursue further in the future. What I mean is that we have taken excerpts, so-called short clips, of Helga Zepp-LaRouche's weekly webcast, which we are usually broadcasting via YouTube and in German. And we have taken some of these clips and uploaded them to TikTok, and some of them have really shot up. I think the leading one has now gone to 14,000 views, over 1,000 likes, and over 160 comments. And in this particular clip, she is referring to a conversation she had with the professor emeritus of MIT, Theodore Postel, the leading nuclear weapons expert, where she said, or where she referred to what he said. He said that we should be glad to have President Putin in the leading position in Moscow because he is much more moderate and considerate and rational than many of the others who want a more escalatory stance towards the West and have lost all patience. So he said that, which caused a tremendous storm of actually positive comments saying that you're completely right, we should be glad about this, we support your position completely. So this is one thing. And the other thing that he said is that the Western leaders are really suffering from hallucinations because they're not accepting the reality that the war is lost on the battlefield and is just producing more and more casualties without any sense, and that this that there should be peace negotiations immediately. So this is also supported by the majority of the comments that we're seeing. So all in all, let me just check. We have hundreds of comments that is supporting Helga Zepp-LaRouche's position, saying that we need to go on the streets, we need to protest, we need to get Germany out of the position of being a potential target in this war, being a war party, especially when the German government starts to deliver the so-called Taurus cruise missile, a long-range cruise missile, with which Ukraine, but implicitly or explicitly with the help of the West, especially German experts, Ukraine could hit targets deep inside Russia, even the Kremlin in Moscow. So we are at the very dangerous situation, and I think that's also the reason why our TikTok channel has shot up and created so much attention, because we are really one of the sane forces here in Germany, and we are also creating a movement for an alternative, bringing in the voices from the West and from the global South and BRICS together to create basically a solution for mankind and not just a regional or local solution. Thanks very much for listening. I hope this was helpful for your battle report, and I'll see you some other time. Bye.
Thank you, Stefan. We'll now take one more clip from the discussion last week between Helga Zepp-LaRouche and Dr. Ted Postel. In the full interview, titled "Defense Expert Ted Postel Warns Trump's Golden Dome Poses an Enormous Danger," and I would encourage you to watch the full discussion. In it, he demonstrates that the Trump administration's Golden Dome policy poses an enormous danger to geopolitical stability. In this clip, he addresses the question of European nations like Germany desiring to build up their nuclear weapons capacity.
This is why Germany, when certain Germans talk about developing their own nuclear deterrent against Russia, for example, that's the last thing Germany should want. Because if Germany puts nuclear weapons in against Russia, these will be very short warning weapons, which the Russians will respond with also very short warning weapons. And both sides will have short warning attack capabilities against the other that will greatly reduce the chances for people recognizing an attack is underway and greatly increase the chances of an accident that would spark a global nuclear war. So the last thing you want to do is put more nuclear weapons into Europe. You want to get them out of Europe. You want to keep them long range. If you're going to have them, keep them long range. And that's why the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty must be brought back into place. And it should be extended to all these local nuclear forces, like the forces of the UK and France as well. You do not want these nuclear forces in close proximity to each other. The warning times are already much too short, and the possibilities of an irrecoverable accident is already too high.
Now, Schiller Institute founder Helga Zepp-LaRouche has issued a call for sanity to prevail after the recent announcement by new German Chancellor Merz, former board member of BlackRock, who announced that Germany would be financing Ukraine to the tune of more than $5 billion to produce long-range Taurus and other missiles capable of striking deep into Russian territory and to be produced within Germany. This call got news coverage last week when South Africa's Global South Media Network published on May 31st an opinion piece titled "German Chancellor Merz Flirts with Danger If He Produces Long-Range Missiles Against Russia." And this op-ed was written by their publisher and editor-in-chief, Abby McCoe. The article cites Helga Zepp-LaRouche's appeal to Chancellor Merz and her call for a mobilization against Germany's manufacture of Taurus missiles for delivery to Ukraine. This article was reprinted in two newspapers of the independent media group of South Africa, the Star and the Sunday Independent, and it was also reprinted by pressreader.com, a Canada-based digital platform with a global reach. So what an exciting report. Get involved, do some organizing, send your reports into info@LaRouche Organization, and we'll see you next week.